In the weeks following Chris Watts' arrest, America was left stunned, not just by the horrific details, but by the man who had committed them. This was no career criminal, no violent outcast. Chris was an average, soft-spoken husband, a man who grilled burgers on the weekends, played with his kids in the yard, and held a steady job as an oil field operator. There were no previous arrests, no known history of abuse, no outward signs that something like this could happen. But underneath the quiet demeanor was a man disconnected from empathy, a man who had grown resentful of his obligations and had begun chasing a fantasy life. Chris had been seeing a coworker, a woman named Nicole Kessinger. To her, he presented himself as a single man in the process of divorcing. He told her he was trapped in an unhappy marriage, that he wanted freedom, a future without complications. He didn't tell her his wife was pregnant, or that he was still sleeping next to her in bed every night. When investigators began piecing things together, they discovered that Chris had been researching secluded vacations, apartment rentals, and wedding songs in the days before the murders. He had also searched how to delete an iPhone backup and browsed articles on how to lie effectively during a police interview. Kessinger cooperated fully with police. She was horrified and devastated when she learned the truth. She later stated publicly that if she had known Shanann was pregnant, she would have never continued the relationship. As the details unraveled, the internet erupted. Shanann's social media, once a space of positivity and family pride, became the focal point of public obsession. Strangers dissected every video, every photo, trying to understand how this could have happened. Conspiracy theories surfaced. Some people, disturbingly, even blamed Shanann, accusing her of being too controlling, too public, too pushy. But the facts spoke for themselves. Shanann was a dedicated mother and wife, managing her home, her children, and her career while dealing with chronic health issues, including lupus. She worked tirelessly to build a better life, often recording videos to inspire others, unaware that the man filming some of those moments was already planning her death. In November 2018, during sentencing, Shanann's family addressed the court. Her father's voice trembled as he described his daughter's final moments, the horror she must have felt, and the betrayal she endured. "No one deserves what happened to them," he said. "They were loved. They mattered." Chris sat in an orange jumpsuit, expressionless. He showed no emotion, no tears, no remorse, even as the judge handed down 5 life sentences, plus 84 additional years. No possibility of parole, no appeal. In prison, Chris eventually gave a chilling, detailed confession in a letter and an interview. He admitted that Shanann had not hurt the girls, despite his earlier false claims. He described killing her in bed after an argument, then said Bella walked in, holding a blanket, and asked what was wrong with Mommy. He didn't answer her. He loaded the bodies into his truck with his daughters still alive and drove for 45 minutes to the oil site. There, as Celeste was smothered, Bella, still conscious, still clinging to life, begged for mercy. Those final moments haunt everyone who has heard them. The children were aware. They knew. The tragedy shook the nation, not because it was the first of its kind, but because it felt so normal. A suburban home, a smiling family, and a father who gave no hint of the horror he was capable of. Today, the Watts family home remains empty, frozen in time. The children's drawings still hung on the fridge for years after the crime. Toys scattered in their rooms, their small shoes by the front door. Their absence is felt by millions who followed their story. Shanann's family continues to advocate for victims of domestic violence, especially emotional abuse, which is harder to detect and easier to dismiss. They urge people to speak up, to listen to intuition, and to check in on those who may seem isolated or overwhelmed. Chris Watts sits alone in a maximum security prison in Wisconsin, away from other inmates for his own protection. No amount of isolation, though, can match the weight of what he did. He took the lives of those who trusted him the most. Not in a moment of rage, but in cold, deliberate calculation. And while he may live out his days in silence, the world will not forget Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico, because this isn't just a story about murder. It's a story about betrayal, about blind trust, and about the terrible cost of silence. Let their memory remind us that even in the most ordinary places, evil can take root, and love, no matter how bright, can be extinguished, unless we choose to see the signs and speak the truth. Speakstruth.